Mother? Mother, I know you're here. Fucking hell. Hello there. Now, the news that we're all required to self-isolate for another 3 weeks has been greeted with typical British stoicism. That was until a story in yesterday's newspapers suggesting that when the lockdown ends, people over the age of 70 will be required to remain indoors for as long as 12 months. In practice, that means that while healthy young people such as you and I are toasting the end of the coronavirus epidemic with our friends in strip clubs, pubs, restaurants and brothels, our parents will be locked away indefinitely for the good of their health. As you might expect, this news has not gone down well with the elderly. Indeed, no sooner had the newspapers hit the doormats than reports began to come in from all over the country of pensioners escaping their shackles and making a run for it. And I regret to announce that the ringleader of this insurgency, the Osama bed blocker, if you will, is my own mother, Jane Brownlee. Incarcerated for her own good with my sister, this sprightly 74-year-old not only succeeded in picking the lock of her dog collar and escaping from the shed, but she also managed to send out this message on a smuggled mobile phone.
I've been a very good girl. I've been very compliant. I've sat here for 3 weeks. I've done just as you told me. I've had my meals delivered in cardboard boxes. I've done jigsaws till I'm cross-eyed. I've read all the Hilary Mantel books. I've even watched Gogglebox, for God's sake. But now, this. They're going to lock us up for another 12 months. Oh no, enough is enough. I can't cope with this any longer. I'm Jane Brownlee, and I'm off. Oh, and don't let the press call me a sprightly pensioner. Mother, it's hot pot tonight. She's gone. Mother!
The message soon went viral, and within several hours the insurgency had grown. Ed Gregory, a former police officer now working for Yodel, had been keeping his 79-year-old father Siegfried isolated in a tree house at the bottom of his garden, surrounded by 14 ravenous pit bull terriers.
My dad he'd never meant to be a rebel. He was a part of the system. He was a system man. He was ex-forces. He was in the Great Britain Army. In fact, he'd taken a lot of inspiration from Captain Tom Moore, and every day he was out there running round his garden. And one day the side gate somehow it had been opened or left open, and he was away. Another of his inspirations was the film Forrest Gump, and he just he ran, just kept running.
Ed wondered whether it had been an off-the-cuff decision, but Siegfried's entire VHS collection of World at War had gone, and he knew something had been arranged.
And it was only then really that we found out that he'd met this Jane Brownlee online. And I don't really know what she said to him, but you know, it obviously struck a chord, and he was away, and we've never seen him since.
Meanwhile, Aidan Dunstan, a furloughed stockbroker, realised something was wrong when he checked his toupee cupboard.
I spoke to my dad earlier, and he's read the press about the old cronies being kept in lockdown for a year or so he's asked me to take a couple of things round to him. Some of my daughter's anti-wrinkle facial cream, and this, one of my hair pieces. He's clearly going to go undercover and become middle-aged, get himself out of the elderly and vulnerable category. But it relies on secrecy, so please, whatever you do, don't post this on social media.
Andrew Shepley, a paid assassin from Hamilton in Scotland, also detected something was amiss with his parents, MacLeod and Dora, but he was too late.
Well, it shouldn't really have come as much of a surprise. But when my parents heard that they were going to be locked down for a year, and they were going to lose their lucrative cigarette smuggling franchise around the Stamfordham area. They just went nuts. It was crazy. My dad got the old Lee Enfield 303 out from under the covers that he had to protect himself, and my mother got the meat cleaver. I mean, and within half an hour they'd killed 15 people in the farmhouse area where they live. And then after half an hour they got a wee bit tired, so they sat down, had a cup of tea, decided they couldn't face it all. So they got out some poison that they had, for the rats, and drank it and then died. But just before they did, they set fire to the whole farmhouse, which unfortunately killed another family that hadn't been out when they were in their initial killing spree. So it was a bit of a disaster, really, absolute carnage. I mean, the police didn't know where to look. It was awful.
And Rob Calla from London found evidence of his own parents' bid for freedom in the back garden of his Hampstead home. London.
It's hard to believe now. I mean, looking around here, I don't know if you can see behind me, but this was the scene of the Zimmer camp, and they were hanging out in the forest here, and they were just refusing to capitulate.
My mother is currently still on the loose, and maybe yours is too, for which I can only apologise. But they will come back, of that I have no doubt. Rebellion is one thing, but the lure of homes under the hammer and bargain hunt is quite another. Until next time, stay safe, and for all our sakes, keep the buggers locked up. Mother, I know you're here.